Because people were filling the seats, butts were in the seats, so nobody complained about it then.
Well, so much of it is also, if we talk about the hitters, but the people who have been caught, it's mostly been pitchers, actually, and especially relief pitchers, because steroids allow you to recover quicker, as you mentioned, and relievers who have to pitch every 3 days and every 2 days, and they have to pitch and the next day pitch again, it allowed them to, and then we see this explosion in relievers. They didn't have relievers pitch like they did, now and every single day, and I think that's one of the big, so as much as it's helped the hitters, they're actually facing pitchers that are using it and to their benefit, as Roger Clemens, Andy Pettitte.
All right, on that note, we want to invite our viewers to be part of our conversation. As always, we want to know what you think, so here's some questions for you. What should happen to the players who are busted for using? Is the current Major League Baseball penalty harsh enough to be a deterrent? Or, like Scotty said, these guys have such egos that they're going to take the risk and just deal with the fallout if they get caught. What about the Hall of Fame? Are the guys still Hall of Fame caliber players? Somebody like a Barry Bonds? Do you think he would get there now? Tell us what you think. We invite your comments. You can email your thoughts, your opinions, your perspective to me at csnphilly.com. You put in It's Your Call or IYC under the search button. That'll take you to my webpage. You can leave me an email there. We also invite you to take my web poll when you are on our page as well. We're asking what you think the appropriate punishment for steroid use is. 50-game suspension, a season-long suspension, perhaps even a lifetime ban. Another way that you can tell me what you think is to email me directly. My address is there at the bottom of the screen. It's tcn_IYC@cable.comcast.com. It is a mouthful. You can also find me on Facebook, MySpace, or YouTube, and I do share some of my Facebook comments throughout every show. So let's do that right now. We're going to check in and see what the friends have to say, and then I'll give the guys a chance to kind of react. All right, let's see. Our first one comes from Trevor. These so-called ball players, depending on steroids to be superstars, make me sick. I was thinking on the same lines as banishment. I wrote on my status earlier this week that Manny in particular should find a pink slip hanging on his locker. These people are a disgrace. Fernando says prosecuting and or disciplining athletes using steroids in practically any sport is hypocritical, to say the least. It's all a scam now. All that aside, in order to maintain the facade of fair play for the fans. The offenders need to be disciplined in some way, suspension, then perhaps monetary, but banning, not sure about that one. We're going to read some more in just a minute, but I do want to get some reaction to the idea of punishing those who are definitively proven to have been using. Manny Ramirez, what do we think about this 50-game suspension? Enough? Not, we talked about it a little bit, enough, not enough, or is it going to make any difference?
Well, I think it's not, and I think
he's not going to be an example.
Well, he'll be an example to a point, but guys have survived this before, and I think Manny will survive because he'll come back, and the Dodgers are going to be in the pennant race, and he's going to hit a bunch of home runs. They're going to love him in L.A., and frankly, you're going to get another big-name guy somewhere along that. Remember, there's like another 102 names we don't know about yet when Alex Rodriguez's name came out. There's bound to be a big name in the 102 other guys. That's 4 full Major League Baseball teams. There's got to be somebody.
Okay, you mentioned A-Rod. I've got to talk about him. All the controversy that surrounded him at the beginning of the season, then he's out for the, the hip surgery and everything. Comes back first day, boom, out of the park. He hits it. Now, this guy, if he's taking something, then he has to be a whack job because he knows everybody's going to be looking at him, testing him, watching him, observing, whatever. Do you think he would still risk it?
Well, I think the problem here is, remember the whole Balco situation, the cream and the clear. This came to light not because they figured out what this substance was. There was a whistleblower in Canada who shipped a sample of this, and I believe the FDA got it. They had no idea what it was, then figured out what it was, got traced to Balco, then everything came unhinged. I'm under the impression, frankly, that there's got to be another designer drug out there that no one knows about. If anybody can afford it, it's going to be multi-millionaire athletes. And frankly, they're always going to find an edge. So there's always going to be a drug probably that we don't know about yet that's on the market, readily available to millionaires, that they're probably taking it right now. Wouldn't surprise me.
All right. Are you surprised by any of this? Are you disappointed to hear that yet another Major League Baseball star is accused of using steroids? This time it's been Manny Ramirez. He's in the midst of this 50-game suspension. It's a big disappointment for a lot of people who were hoping that they'd see him when he came into town with the Dodgers. We want to know what you think about this. We're going to take a quick break, but you can email me at tcn_IYC@cable.comcast.com. We'll be back with more right after this.
Lynn Doyle's Jewelry, provided by David Craig Diamonds and Fine Jewelry, Newtown, Pennsylvania.
Transportation for It's Your Call guests provided by Preferred Car and Limousine.
I guess right now it's getting to the point where anybody that's doing steroids in baseball, it's a little ridiculous because it's so under the radar.
Babe Ruth, I don't know what his record was, but I mean, he certainly did it without steroids. And if it took Barry Bonds, if he did indeed do steroids, if it took him, that to reach his record, then shame on him. It's obviously been done without steroids. So
I don't think there is a problem with steroid use in baseball. I feel everyone has their own opinion and do whatever they want to do, and if it's going to hurt their bodies, it's going to hurt their bodies, but, that's up to them to do.
Just a few comments from folks around the region when we talked to them about steroids and baseball. You saw the lower third there described it as the steroid era. Would you guys agree that that's what this point in time or the last 10 years will be known when baseball historians look back?
I mean, I think that's the label that people have given it. I certainly think that you have the dead ball era, and historians are probably going to call this the steroid era. But I'm sure the next generation will have the artificial muscle era.
Then why isn't there an amphetamine era? Why isn't there a greenie era? Why aren't we talking about guys 60s and 70s? Some guys, and I was around guys who couldn't show up at the ballpark unless they launched.
Right.
I mean, that's an incredible thing. And you've got guys that, you're talking about the ability to bounce back from an injury. How about the ability to drag your butt to the ballpark on a given day and not be able to play unless you launch? I mean, and that's fine. And there are guys that played in that period of time, some of whom I'm sure have hit records, some I'm sure had hit streaks, maybe games played record, I don't know. Yeah. I'm not trying to implicate somebody here, but I mean, come on. This lived for 20 years like this. That's fine. You know what? That kind of thing. Whitey Ford doctored the baseball. That's kind of cute. It's kind of cute. It's kind of nice. That's not cheating. This is cheating. It's ridiculous.
No, I agree with you, Scott. I agree 100%. I think the issue, one of the people that you had in that video there brought up Babe Ruth. And I think baseball pays because people know the records in baseball. If you asked a football fan who had scored the most touchdowns, they might be able to tell you Jerry Rice. They probably would never be able to tell you how many touchdowns, but people could name the top 3 home run hitters, just off the top of their head. And I think that's really why baseball has taken the hit that the other sports haven't in this case.
You talked about taking the hit. Earlier in the show, we talked about various players who have been accused or who have readily admitted it. We mentioned Andy Pettitte. And I wonder why someone like Andy seems to kind of get off with a pass where someone like A-Rod doesn't. Does it come down to the kind of guy he is or the circumstances under which he explained the use? What's your opinion?
Well, he came out and admitted when Brian McNamee labeled the accusation against him. He admitted it was him. He did take it. He was forthright with it. He has a great sterling reputation of being this wonderful person, and he said it was used to recover from injury. He was trying to get back from injury because people paid him all this money and they wanted to see him pitch. And I think how he handled it helped him out. People still label him as a steroid user, but he's much different than Barry Bonds and A-Rod.
So talk to me, if you will, about Roger Clemens then, because he has vehemently denied ever having used anything, and no one's buying it. He's in the same category as A-Rod and Barry Bonds, where he's not considered a nice guy? I mean, why would he go on 60 Minutes and literally look people in the eye and say, I didn't do this? And he's going to the death saying he didn't do it.
Well, I think you got to take A-Rod a bit out of this, because A-Rod has held the press conference. He's admitted use, and unlike Pettitte, who said, once or twice, A-Rod's admitted 2 years of use. So now he may be lying about that, but I give him credit at least for doing that and acknowledging the use. Yeah, he got caught, and frankly, for him, he's got more of a beef because this came on tests that were never supposed to be made public, and he's the only name out of 103 to go public. I give A-Rod actually credit and take him out of the same loop with a Barry Bonds and a Clemens. I think Clemens has just made himself out to look like a total fool here, okay? Because no one's buying it. He's on his little, he's on his propaganda tour right now, and as he said, he's on all these different networks claiming he didn't